our learning outcomes for today. So in today's session, we will focus on understanding the features and functions of the Insight CTE Diploma Endorsement Requirements Tracker. And we hope that you also walk away with identifying best practices for using the the Diploma Endorsement Requirements Tracker to enhance CTE programming and educational outcomes for all students. And now I'll pass the mic to Deborah Glarner, who will walk us through what Insight is and the CTE endorsement.
Good morning, everybody. So I think I'm just going to do a little brief overview about what Insight is because, school teacher love to make sure that everyone's on the same page, but Insight is a DOE web-based tool that allows users to get timely and actionable data. This helps us to better understand what's going on at the school level, and it also helps us to understand what's going on with our students. It allows us to group them. We can easily recognize trends, patterns in data. It allows you to find those places where you might want to dig a little bit deeper to make sure that you are doing everything you can to support all of your students. It allows us to investigate things like disproportionality in our schools, and it also helps provide supports to address them. And what it does is that when you use Insight fully in a robust way, it allows us to create conditions that raise achievement for all of our students. Okay. So just a little background on access, because it always seems like one of those things, it's different for different levels, right? So data is pulled from source systems like ATS and STARS daily. So it includes information for all of your current students. Different people have different needs to access this, right? So we have user types and access levels. So for example, all teachers have access to Insight with the ability to view information about their students, right? So if you have 5 classes, you should have all 5 of your classes. With data in Insight, you should be able to see things like Acadians, New York City performance tests, 3 to 8 state tests, custom group downloader, custom group creator and downloader, school climate report, and for high school, which is what CTE is mostly at this point, graduation progress. So very important for the people on this call. At the administrative level, right, school leaders have access to the entire school that they are assigned to. So for example, if you are a principal, you should be able to see all this information for your students. But you can also assign access in Galaxy. So for example, if you are a data specialist, if you are a guidance counselor, if you're a parent coordinator, sometimes your principal secretary or people accounting needs to have access. School social workers, if you're a principal and you're going on leave, your designee will need access, right? And then if you have a data, like a school-wide student data viewer, so they get that's an access level that's assigned. And then for field staff, which a lot of people on this call are, you have a superintendent team staff has access to the schools you're assigned to support in Galaxy, but if you don't have access, you can be assigned multi-school student data viewer role in Galaxy to get access. I know that's a mouthful, but there is a role in Galaxy. You have to just go in and flag it. Multi-school student data viewer will help you get access if you are field staff across the schools that you serve. Okay. CTE endorsement, I am absolutely sure that everyone on this call knows what a CTE endorsement is, but CTE endorsements are basically a CTE New York State approved program. And you have to meet the Regents diploma requirements in addition to CTE sequence requirements. So they offer, the programs offer New York City Public Schools students the opportunity to look at job shadowing, paid internships. You get industry recognized credentials for some of it, and also get mentoring from professionals. And we all know that these are crucial experiences for students and young adults, right, as they enter post-secondary education, job training, and employment. The idea is that students graduating from CTE programs are graduating with a strong academic foundation, technical skills, as well as employability or durable skills, right? Those are very important things that we take with us no matter what field we enter, and that they also have authentic work experience, which will enable them to compete successfully for careers in high demand sectors across New York City's economy, as well as wherever they end up going in their lives. So in short, right, we have the regular, not the regular, but the high school diploma requirements, right? So you have to complete 44 credits. CTE, not CTE, all of our students are expected to create 44 credits in the areas that are outlined, right? But for CTE, it includes the CTE career electives, right? So there's one thing that is for across the board. It's career and financial management course. You'll see this referred to as a CFM later on in our presentation. That's either one credit, and it can be that's one credit, and it can be either standalone or embedded in a different class. For example, you might have an economics class that you're embedding those into the standards. You have to pass 5 regents. And I'm sorry, that does not take the place of your econ class, right? But it does, you can have additional embedded strands into different classes. For passing 5 regents, the CTE technical assessment may be used as a +1 option. So we have the 4+1 now. CTE can be used as that +1, which is the 3-part technical assessment. Sometimes, depending upon the CTE program, it can be an industry recognized credential. If you're going for the CTE, you also have to complete work-based learning experiences, known as WBL later on, but work-based learning experiences, and that involves career awareness, exploration, as well as career development. And then last, but definitely not least, is an employability profile. So in addition to your 44 credits and your regents, there are these additional factors that have to be done for CTE endorsement. All right, so just a little information. The criteria shared as requirements for the technical endorsement tracker and insight are intended to align as closely as possible to New York State Education Department approval policy. There are some requirements that are not directly tracked in New York State Public School student information systems. And in that case, a related data point was selected to track and monitor completion. Schools should still award endorsements based on their final assessment of the transcript and student completion of CTE requirements, a full as part of the graduation certification requirements that everyone does. This should be done as well. If data and insight is incomplete due to discrepancies, schools should award endorsements based on their final assessment. And as you can see, for more information, please refer to the CTE FAQ policy guide linked here.
Thank you. So now that we have gone through a little bit about Insight and the CTE endorsement, I'm going to take you through a bit of a walkthrough of the Insight platform using slides. So because this is a recording, I don't want to use or divulge any kind of student personal information. So I'll be just using slides as a sort of case study. So however, that doesn't mean that you can't use the platform yourself. So here is the Insight link. And just go ahead, log into Insight, and to find where we will be focused on, which is the diploma endorsement requirement section. Just simply select the school at the top of the page, any school that you're familiar with that has a CTE program. And then you'll go directly to the graduation progress section, right, underneath courses and pathways, as you could see here. And then followed by what you will need to do is go to the side. Once you're in the graduation progress section, you'll need to go to the sidebar where it says student list. And you'll go down to CTE. Where's my laser pointer? There we go. You'll go down to CTE and click enroll. And that's an important step because you won't be able to view the endorsement tracker unless a student is in a New York State approved CTE program. So it only appears for those students who are enrolled in that kind of programming. So it's really important that in order to see the tracker that you click on this enrolled. And then it'll pop up. You'll see students popping up that are enrolled in CTE and in a program. You can go ahead and click on any one that you'd like. You can also, what's great about Insight is that You can also continue to sort by race, gender, by grade, and select a particular, particular student of interest. So take a moment and select your student, and feel free to refine as you wish. Okay, so I'm just going to do a brief overview of this, a walkthrough of this section. So when you click on your student and you scroll down, you will see this at the bottom of the page. It's called the Diploma Endorsement Requirement section. And specifically, it is focused on the CTE sequence. Right here, you can see a high-level overview of the requirement section. And at the top of this section, you'll be able to see the CTE sequence, also noted here. You'll also see the program name, which is noted here. It says fashion/apparel design. Followed by this particular introduction, you will see the requirements for CTE endorsement. So you have the credits, the career and financial management requirement, work-based learning, technical assessment, and employability profile. Each section can be opened up or collapsed. Right now they are collapsed, but they can be opened up to view more details in that section, which we'll do in a minute. Most sections monitor the completion of these requirements. When the requirement has been completed, you'll see this blue checkbox pop up, such as here. A gray box indicates that the requirement is not complete. So as you can see from this example, credits, career financial management are complete, but the requirements of work-based learning, technical assessment, and employability are not. Moving along, we have the expanded credits section. Here, you'll see the required courses. Also on top, you'll note from the high-level overview, as well as here, are the number of credits that have been completed. As you could see, 10 out of 10 have been completed. And all of the required courses that the student has taken are here. We know that they have completed the courses because they are marked in blue. Down here in the optional section, we see that the student has taken and completed the apparel and textiles production and merch course. Over here, we have 2 courses that the student is currently taking or enrolled. And the rest of these courses have not been taken. They're marked blank. And so what's great about Insight is that you can actually click on each course like I've done here and view more information on how the student has performed, what term, what school year they've taken the particular course, how many credits, the teacher. So there are more what we call credit details once you click on one of the courses. And the courses that count for the requirement of earning the Advanced Region CTE diploma, but not the CTE endorsement, will show up in the optional courses category. Okay. The next requirement is career and financial management. And this occurs just after the credits section. The requirement is considered complete, as you all know, once the student has taken and passed the 1 credit course or 54 hours of embedded instruction within the program course sequence. And so here in this example, the student has completed this requirement through an embedded model. And so for schools that embed career and financial management content, in various required courses, this requirement will be marked as complete once they have passed all the courses in that sequence. So here, we'll note that this student has passed all the courses. However, a student can take a standalone course if offered at the school. So here are some examples of what that could look like in Insight for a standalone course. So for schools that offer the standalone course, you'll see that the course is noted here. In this example, the student has not completed that requirement, and we see here they have not even taken the course yet, right, because it's marked blank. The second example here, we see that the student has completed the requirements and passed the financial career and financial management course. Here's an example that shows that the career and financial management is broken into two parts for half a credit each. As you can see, these classes have not been taken because they are not highlighted. So these are just some examples of how it could appear as a standalone. The next requirement is work-based learning. This section shows whether the student has fulfilled their CTE program's work-based learning requirement using the state reporting of program quality performance indicator. The requirement is marked complete when the WBLH HR code is entered, as noted here, and that would be entered into stars. As a reminder, it is important to note that students are eligible for the CTE technical endorsement when they complete their work-based learning experiences provided as part of the approved program. And so the code is being used as part of a system requirement for tracking purposes due to the various experiences schools offer and students experience. And so you'll see here that a message confirming that the code was entered and with a passing mark. It'll include the term and school year. It will also include a list of the work experience as noted here, if available, and at times the student's position. And if there are multiple entries, you'll see that here noted as well in a separate line. And as we could see here, the work-based learning requirement has not been completed. Here are some other examples of what it looks like when it is completed. In some cases, you'll see the experience entered, and in other cases, the tool will not indicate the experience as shown here. The next requirement is the technical assessment, which shows whether a student has fulfilled the technical assessment requirement for their CTE program, including three parts: the written examination, demonstration of technical skills, and the locally developed project and portfolio. So when the requirement is completed, Insight will display a code, the JXCTE code, as noted here, including the term, school year, and list of required exams for the program, as recorded in STARS Program Manager. And as you can see here, there are some other variations of the code, which depend on the number of attempts the students make within the term. Here are some examples of how it could also appear on your screen. So up here shows a student that has completed the requirement. They're using the JXCTE2 code, which again just shows the number of attempts. And here the code represents the completion of all three parts. Here are the required exams. Below, you'll see the technical assessment example not being completed and the required exam for the written and practical noted at the bottom. And finally, the final requirement is the employability profile. So because this requirement is not currently tracked digitally, you will not see this checked off in Insight. So schools will still be responsible for maintaining a printed and signed copy of each student's employability profile at the school site. And finally, I want to share one feature that could help school staff discuss graduation progress with stakeholders, students, parents, caregivers throughout the school. It's called the Individual Student Report, and it's located in the graduation progress section. You have some download options that are located at the left of your screen. So you can print out based on type of diploma. You can also print out the number of, well, I should say, you can print out one PDF or you can print out all of the students in that particular CTE program. And for example, here we have over 1,300 students in the CTE enrolled program. So you have some options. The first 2 pages show basically an overview of where the student currently is and the graduation, I should say course credits, examinations that have been completed or not, and just an overview of their progress. The diploma endorsement tracker now has been added to this report, which is a great addition. And as you could see, all the sections are expanded. So very easily having a conversation with one of the stakeholders using this report is a great way to just share it and go over where the student has completed courses or requirements or not, and where they need to go. I'm going to pass the mic to Deborah, and if you do have any questions, happy to circle back. Okay, Deb?
Thanks, Jen. Hi, everybody. It's me again. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the New York City School Quality Rubric, right? It's one citywide rubric that we use across the city. And I want us to think about this, that we introduce new tools very frequently at the DOE. And so a lot of times, if it can be a lot to think about, how does this tool work with other tools that I'm already using at my school, right? So I wanted us to think about, and we wanted us to think about how the CTE tracker can fit in with what we use in terms of thinking about school improvement and how we build stronger communities as a whole. So just thinking about it, the CTE diploma completion is directly connected to school quality and to the school quality rubric, right? Just a little background, it is the only citywide research-based tool that we use to evaluate school quality, and this focuses on teaching and learning, and we use it to support school improvement efforts across all of New York City schools, right? K through 12, pre-K, all across all districts. So we have enhanced language across the rubric to surface culturally responsive and sustaining educational practices and their impact on teaching, learning, and assessment. It is the only citywide school evaluation tool that explicitly links CRSE with school performance, and it's used as a tool for school improvement across the city. So there are 10 indicators on the school quality rubric, and that is the instructional core, which includes curricula, pedagogy, and assessments, school culture, which is learning environment and high expectations, systems for improvement, which are resources, goals, teacher teams, monitoring, and revising systems. Seems like a lot for one rubric to do, but it does it. And so when we looked at CTE programming and we were thinking about, how does it fit in with school improvement, it touches the rubric in a lot of ways, right? I could think of pretty much every way for every indicator where this could fit. However, the primary indicators, right? Because we think about what's the most, the easiest jump to make, right? But the primary indicators for tracking CTE endorsement requirements would fall under the following indicators: high expectations, which is 3.4, and you'll see on your screen there's a little green arrow that points out. Leveraging resources, which is 1.3, right? How are we using our time, our resources to support student achievement? Sorry, and with high expectations, of course, right? We want our students to complete the highest possible track that they could do, and CTE is additional requirements. So that would be high expectations for all of our students. And then monitoring and revising systems, 5.1. How are we looking at things? What are the systems that we have in place? And when we look at things such as the sheet that Jen had shared with us a few minutes ago, in talking to your students and sharing with your students, right? This is one way of saying, are a lot of our students falling through the cracks? Are some of our students? Who's falling through? How are we helping support all of our students? So then if we look a little bit into 3.4, we establish a culture for learning that communicates high expectations, that promote college and career readiness to staff, students, and families, and provide supports to achieve those expectations. So the rubric connections with the CTE endorsement tracking and reporting are very concrete, right? Sharing progress with students. We are sharing the supports with our students about how they can achieve these things, creating student goals and action plans, and again, engaging students in those activities with their families, share progress with families. How are we doing this? How are we letting parents know how their children are doing? It also supports conversations with advisors and teachers, right? How are we helping all of our students, some of our students, and then I mean, this was one that just left out, right? It drives progress reports to progress to graduation conferences with guidance counselors. So it's a way of using that document to say to students, look, here's very concretely where we are and where we need to be and what we're going to do to get there, looping back to our goals and action plans. But that's all 3.4. That's all cultural for learning that commutes high expectations around college and career readiness to all your stakeholders. Thanks, Jen. All right, so I wanted to just give us a few minutes to think about how we would practically drive this, right? So you've got school teams, we all support schools. How would we support a school team that's working with this student? So I'm looking at their CTE, the diploma endorsement requirements, and my first thing is oh my goodness, this is a senior. And it's senior and we're in spring semester and they have 4 of 8 required credits complete. And because I know what they need to do, I also know that they're sitting in an English class, probably a social studies class. I know they have PE. So that's 3 classes. So unless all of their other classes are in the CTE track, I already can look at this and know senior year missing 4 classes. We have to have a big conversation with this student, right? And then if I look at the next slide, we see that the work-based learning requirement is complete, which is will be marked complete when WBLHR is entered in stars. But from what I can see here, I do not see my little check mark. So I'm going to say if that little check mark over the little clipboard has not been clicked off, they have not either, right? One of 2 things. One, maybe we didn't enter WBLHR in stars with a passing grade, in which case that's one thing, but also if they did not complete their hours, that's the other thing. So we have to take a look and see what's happening with the work-based learning requirement. Is it my paperwork, right? And then we have the technical assessment. Again, the little clipboard will be marked complete when a passing grade is entered for the technical assessment. Right? And as we talked about, it depends on the number of attempts. It represents the completion of all 3 parts, but it is the written examination, the demonstration of technical skills, the locally developed project, and their required exams. So neither of these have a check mark. So I want us to take a moment. And if we go to look at the next slide, right, we know that they're missing 4 credits. They have not completed work-based learning, nor have they completed, at least not that I know of, right? Because all I'm doing is looking at what's in Insight and on that sheet that I printed out. So after reviewing this information, what advice would you give a school leader, right? And then we're still thinking about connecting this use of this tracker to other tools, resources, or processes. So what are some other tools, resources, or processes you might help the school leader think about? What advice would you give a school leader after reviewing this information? And again, they're missing 4 credits, right? 4 required credits. Now they could have all their credits in place for the Regents diploma, but they're missing 4 credits for the CTE. They've not completed the work-based learning. And also we don't have the exam codes in there. So what are some things you might talk about with a school leader? What advice, if you have any?
Hi, this is Tanya. So I guess for the coursework, that's certainly one thing. And would talk to them not necessarily just about this student, but about how they are programming kids into the CTE pathway. But my concern is more about the work-based learning. And I know Chris Ann is on the call, so she knows that our team is very concerned about this, because the guidance that we've given all our schools, which is according to NICED, is that there isn't a requirement that a student complete 54 hours of work-based learning in order to get the endorsement. So I've just texted my boss and my team, some team members, like, this is a bigger issue for us. Yeah, so I'm not sure what to do about that. Or is this insight, is this just a way to review, or is this the predictor or end all be all of whether or not a student actually gets the endorsement or not?
So I'm going to ask Chrisanne if you want to jump in. I would love to have you respond.
Yeah. So again, Tanya, I think this team, the Insight team, has given a disclaimer up front, right? And that was very clear in the slides, indicated that this is not the end all be all. There is no automatic anything. This is a tool used to provide information to school leaders so that they can make informed, data-driven decisions. It does not dictate whether or not a student gets the endorsement. Someone still has to provide the appropriate discharge code, and someone still has to review all student appropriate records for that student in the NICED approved program. The reason why the WBLHR code was selected as an indicator was because we know that state approved programs are required to do this for state reporting purposes. It is mandated, and so it has been selected for that purpose. It is also the only indicator that tells us whether or not a student has had exposure, engaged in work-based learning. And because that is important, and because that is also part of our local accountability measures for the school quality report, it has been included here. So it serves multiple purposes, not just the purpose of the technical endorsement. Yes, it's true, a student can earn the endorsement without the work-based learning. That is in the user guide for this Insight tool. It is also going to be in the wiki page for this tool. So it is not that that information has been omitted. It has been included for consideration for any users of the tool. We've made sure that that has been prominently addressed in any resource materials. And I have reached out to the state ed team to confirm about the policy requirements for the technical endorsement, and I'm waiting a response from them as well. And if necessary, we can always revise the wiki, we can always revise the user guide materials. So, just to be clear,
Right.
Again, it is a tool to ensure that students are on track and making progress to complete their programs of study, and serving really for the first time in the city's history to document that information based on the information that's available in STARS. So no, we're not trying to prevent a student from earning the technical endorsement. We're telling schools you still have to look at all of the information that you have available on a given student in the event that something in the system is not reflecting accurately.
Right. And I appreciate that. And just FYI, the state let us know that they're going to be updating their work-based learning document. September 24th is when it's going to come out. So
wonderful.
Boy, timely
as needed. But
Excellent.
Again, this is also helpful for the local school accountability for the school quality report and the addition of work-based learning.
Absolutely.
In that. Right.
I'm loving this. I'm absolutely loving this, just so you all know. But thank you for that. I'm at a conference. I'm juggling a bunch of stuff. So if I missed that one, a very important point, I apologize. But so to that point, like, one of the things that our team does is look at, like, a whole borough or the whole school. So looking at one student where that's useful for the school, absolutely. For my conversation with, with a school, that's, as I said earlier, I would say you really need to think about how you're programming your CTE sequence to allow for space and time to either make up courses that were missed if a student came in late, seeing how they can achieve completion, or if that's not going to happen, then what other things can we offer the student? So before they reach the spring of their senior year, they have no options open to them, right? So like, how are you structuring your program around all of these wonderful nuances that we have in our New York City public school system, right, with our kids? So, I do appreciate this a lot, and thank you for creating it.
And I think one of the things that I'm just thinking from the school leader level, a lot of times when there are nuances in the system, we may see it's on P Digest or something like that. Most of the information is shared through P Digest. I think what's helpful is when you're meeting with principals that you share the different ways you can use this, like just think about like the individual student report. Like, let's brainstorm all the different ways we can use this report. So just even helping them know where it is and that it's available and when
is a good time to run it, right? So that you can make changes and you can make adjustments to your graduating seniors or next year's graduating seniors. Like, exactly. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
One of the things I was thinking about, and just full disclosure, I'm a former principal, is one of the ways that I would use this is to monitor my own systems. So like, what codes need to be entered? What codes aren't being done properly? Wait a minute, are we not naming things what they're supposed to be named? And that's why it's turning out that all of my students are not showing this because I haven't named the exams the right things, right? I mean, programming, we all know it's a challenge, but it's a way for me to say that. And exactly, like, no student should be getting to this, right, we're on June 4th of senior year and you're missing this much and we haven't had this conversation. So as a school leader, that's also something like maybe these conversations need to be happening quarterly, maybe, right? So it's a whole number of things, right? It's the information that's for the student, but it also tells me as a school leader about, and this is the monitoring systems 5.1, right? About where there might be some places where I need to have a certain amount of evenness among my guidance counselors. Maybe my programmers and I need to have an additional conversation. And again, the part you brought up about the sequence and opportunities for students who came in sophomore year to get the classes that were freshman year, right? Those things are such important things for us to start thinking about. And the when, right? We all laughed about September 24th, and I'm glad that we're going to be getting it, but we know that certain things like programming, you guys, programming's already started. If you haven't started programming for September, you're late. Like, we know. So those are things that would help me as a school leader to keep track of it.
It's also, sorry, Deborah, to interrupt.
No, go ahead, please.
I just wanted to say that, like, this lends itself a lot to that concept of a team, right? When you're thinking about, it's not just the leader's perspective, it's not just the guidance counselor, it's everybody. It's the whole, like, what is the culture of your school that's lending itself to this completion? And this is a way to sort of formally keep track of all of that. So I think this is great.
And I think that point that you just brought up tied it all together for us in such a nice way. Thank you so much for that, because the people who are using it are the most important people to tell us if it's going well. So I just want to move us into, we've got like 1 minute left, and I apologize for that. We wanted to give a little time to what key takeaways people might have from today's session, right? And I think we touched on that a lot. Thank you so much for that. But also just a little bit of time as the Insight team continues to improve the platform, if there are features or functions you'd like to see added, right? Our Insight team is constantly working to revise and improve based on feedback. You'd be amazed. I mean, I didn't know until we started working this closely how much work they do to get feedback and user feedback. So just wanted to give people an opportunity today. And there's also be an opportunity later. But if there's anything that you think is amazing that they could be thinking about as we start doing stuff.
I want to play with it a little bit, and then I'll certainly come back with some stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I would absolutely encourage that. And one of the things that we are always looking to do is to enhance our tools, right? To make them more user-friendly, more supportive for those folks who are using them in the field and in their various roles. So in the I'm in a few minutes, I'm just going to, in about a minute, actually, I'm going to just send the feedback form, and feel free to share any thoughts about that. I also wanted to share.
Jen, I just wanted to share with you that Salma put in the chat. Thank you so much for this, the
Oh,
Insight User Guide.
great.
And she also put in there the Insight Wiki. So if people don't have those links, they're available in the chat now. And she also put in the Help Us Improve Insight. So if anyone has a minute to help us improve Insight, we are only too happy. Thank you, Salma, for sharing all that stuff.
Yes, definitely.
Sorry, Jen.
Thank you. No, that's okay. I also want to note that some of those links are here as well. So you can definitely access the different resources, including a YouTube channel. And if you have any questions about Insight, feel free to email the Insight domain email. There's also some links to other resources, such as the New York City School Quality Rubric and CTE FAQ. And this will be sent to you shortly. And now, here is the feedback form once again. If you could kindly take a moment and provide any feedback. And once you've completed the feedback form, we thank you so much for joining us, and we hope that you have a wonderful day.